Well, like one time I think I recall you saying something like that. You know, someone was making reference to one of your famous songs, Footprints or whatever. You know, and you said, "Oh, it's not finished yet."
Mm-hmm.
You know, because every time is a new exploration of it, and it's like, where could it go from here? You know,
Mm-hmm.
because you know people grow up with hearing the recordings, and that's the definitive version. But a lot of times those were like the first times through some of those things, right?
Yeah.
Like Nefertiti and some of those tunes.
Mm-hmm. And nothing to me is ever begun or finished in life. I mean, really, it's not begun. It's like it's declared as finished. It's the decision that it was started and finished. But is that the real nature of existence? It's, 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 it's not finished.
Right. It arrives at the beginning, but it's already there. Somehow.
Yeah, it's arrived and it's still it's waiting for the conductor, the fuel. Because people, you know, like thousands of people pick up something, hey, this is, and they find out that the function of it is to be continued, and sometimes there's instructions in there. It's like, oh, there's a little cabinet, a little doorway here. They say, please continue this.
Yeah, right, right.
It's you know, these declaratives in life, artificial. To me, the beginning is an artificial word, and the end is artificial. I like. Some people ask, how does everything begin? How do things begin? I have to see if I can play that musically too. How it begins. What I like better than that is what is before the beginning of something. And before the beginning of something, to me, the only word I can come up with is potential. Like the statement, like in school, kid doesn't do well and said, you're not using the brains that somebody in supreme power gave you. And the other teacher might say, you are not using your full potential. I like number 2. Potential is mysterious. That's some eternal. I like that you can't figure out what you're not supposed to be figured out. You're supposed to be traveling and discovering unendingly. That cancels out the end.
Right. You know, that makes me think of like Charlie Parker at the beginning. Like, who would have known the potential of where he went with the way he was playing and all that, and where was it coming from at the beginning? You know, it was already somehow there.
Did you have that? Do you have that? I have that one book. It's not a book
about birds. No.
It's a comment from Rebecca Parker. His wife, his first wife, Rebecca, and it was given to me by somebody, and he said this is the only chronicled conversation written, recorded conversation from Rebecca Parker about Charlie Parker. Right. About, and the question being, where did his stuff come from?
Right.
And she's not a musician. So I was reading it, and it said when I think they got married, you know.
He was pretty young, yeah, it was really young.
Yeah. And the question in there was, did it come, there's no, you can't trace him, Johnny Hodges, you can't trace the gradual something that he was listening to this and this, or even at Art Tatum,
yeah.
And Lester Young, we can usually, see where somebody's coming from. So Rebecca Parker said, when he was playing, I think they had a place where she was upstairs and downstairs. She said when he was, she said he was downstairs while she was cooking, whatever. She used the word practicing. She said he was practicing. And here's the key word. She said, furiously.
Right.
And I'm thinking, he was disconnecting. He was
traveling somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was all before like the Jay McShann. This was
Yeah.
during that time when he was just starting to. Well, he was on his way coming to New York and all the first time, I guess.
Do you have hear him playing when he was 17 or 16?
Something in a yeah,
Body and Soul.
right, in a like one of those booths, right?
Mhm.
At the
From his wife,
dime
Chan.
store or something.
Chan.
Right. Yeah.
And also, I have a tape.
Of a Cherokee just playing alone.
Mhm.
Right? Yeah.
I have a tape of him giving a music lesson to a young guy. Charlie Parker talking,
Wow.
giving a
Wow.
music lesson. And the young boy, about 16, said, you mean I have to learn all these keys? I have to study and learn all these keys? And Charlie Parker said, he spoke like a dignitary.
Yeah, right.
Yes, you have to learn these keys. You have to learn all these keys, and when you learn them, you have to forget them, throw them away,
Yeah.
forget them.
Get them in your ear, like, yeah.
I can't do his voice, but it was,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
that's
No, I never
that's
heard
Bird,
that.
That's Bird talking.
Wow, wow.
You know, I had Bud Powell talking too on the tape
Mhm.
about the bridge of conception.
Mm. I never heard that.
I have
Yeah.
that.
Wow, wow. Yeah, that's that history is amazing, man. And
Yeah.
also to know that like somehow Lester Young and his family and Ben Webster, there was some kind of connection there too.
Yeah, yeah.
With Ben in somehow with Lester's family band or his father or something. Not exactly sure.
Yeah.
But just all that energy and communication and inspiration, people that came up together and how they influenced each other to be themselves.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know, I mean, that study for me growing up was a part of how I learned how to play. My dad played tenor, you know, around the Cleveland,
Mhm.
Ohio area, and he came up under Tad Dameron and certain cats, Freddie Webster he heard, and he was born in 1925, my dad, right? So he grew up in that real modern jazz period. Played at a jam session with Coltrane in like 1950 or 51 when he was there playing alto in a blues band.
Yeah,
Guy
right.
Cross or one of those bands.
Yeah.
You probably heard of Joe Alexander.
Yeah.
Played with Tad. He was good friends with my dad. I had never met him. He passed like in 70 or 71. But growing up, knowing about certain players that grew up together from Chicago and Cleveland and Detroit and Pittsburgh taught me so much as a young player, man, and gave me so much inspiration to realize how natural and real the music was, right?
Mhm.
You know, I remember Gene Ammons came to Cleveland.
Mhm.
It was 1970. I was still in high school, and my dad took me to see him, and we met. And Jug was this legendary figure on these recordings, you know, that I was listening to. But all of a sudden, we went in the dressing room, and I saw my dad and him embrace and say hello, like they had known each other from an earlier time or something. And it just made everything so real for me at that time. You know, it was incredible.
Remember the recording he did with Woody Herman, More Moon?
Yeah, right. Jug played with Woody. Woody loved him.
And the talk was, before the recording, he said, you know, Jug's he's gonna make a recording. He's playing with Woody, recording with Woody Herman. He said, More Moon. You said, hi the moon, yeah. And they were telling me, like, they on the edge of talking, like, can he handle that? Can he handle that? And when the record came out, we hearing, he listened to his solo. He said, and I said, wait a minute. He doesn't have to play bebop.
Right.
That whole thing. He touched on something that was so real.
Yeah, some soulful sounds.
And it enhanced another dimension about how, you know. I said, wait a minute. It's like I said, this country doesn't get along with this country. That's a lie. Then they do more than get along. They transcend the false thing about this doesn't mix, and then they mix. The adventure is in the mixing. And it's spaghetti-o. That's
All
what I
right.
always say.